Have you ever looked back and wondered, how did I not see that coming? You trusted someone, maybe a friend, a partner, or even a mentor, only to end up feeling betrayed, used, or manipulated. It's frustrating, it's painful. And if it keeps happening, it starts making you question yourself. Why do we trust the wrong people? Is it bad luck? Are we too naive? Or is there something happening beneath the surface that we don't even realize? Let's dig deeper. Because once you understand why this happens, you'll finally be able to break the cycle. We like to think trust is something we give carefully, based on logic. But in reality, trust is built emotionally and subconsciously. Our brains make snap decisions about people before we even realize it. There's something called the halo effect. When someone looks confident, successful, or kind, we assume they must also be trustworthy. Think about it. How many times have you met someone who seemed well put together, spoke with authority, and had a charming presence, and you automatically assumed they were reliable? It's a natural human tendency, but it can be deceiving. Some of the most manipulative people in history were also some of the most charismatic. This is why we often don't see betrayal coming. It's not because we're careless, but because our brains are wired to associate outward appearances with internal qualities. Then there's the similarity bias. When we meet someone who shares our interests, background, or values, we instantly lower our guard. We feel like they get us, so we assume they're on our side. Think about how quickly we bond with people who have had similar life experiences. You meet someone who grew up in the same town, had a similar job, or loves the same movies as you, and suddenly there's an unspoken trust. But that similarity doesn't necessarily mean they have good intentions. It just means they know how to relate to you. And sometimes that's exactly what makes them dangerous. Another big one is cognitive fluency. When someone is easy to talk to, our brain assumes they must be genuine. That's why smooth talkers can be so persuasive, even when they're not honest. Have you ever met someone who just knew exactly what to say? They made you feel heard, understood, and valued. But later, you realized they were only saying what you wanted to hear. This is a classic trait of manipulators. They make the conversation so effortless that you don't even stop to question their true motives. And here's a mind-blowing fact. A Princeton study found that people decide whether to trust someone within 1/10 of a second just by looking at their face. That means we make trust decisions before we even hear a single word from a person. It's shocking, isn't it? We like to believe we judge people based on experience and character, but a huge part of our trust process happens automatically, without us even realizing it. But what about when we do sense something is off? Why do we ignore the red flags? One big reason is optimism bias. We want to believe people have good intentions, so we explain away things that don't sit right. Maybe a friend consistently cancels plans, but you tell yourself they're just busy. Or someone constantly lies, but you convince yourself they didn't mean to. We want to see the best in people, and while that's a good thing, it can also make us blind to warning signs. Then there's the sunk cost fallacy. When we've already invested time or emotions into someone, we don't want to admit we were wrong, so we stick around longer than we should. This happens in friendships, relationships, even business partnerships. You think, I've already spent years with this person. I can't just walk away now. But here's the truth. The more time you spend trying to fix something toxic, the deeper you sink. It's better to walk away early than to keep holding on to something that's hurting you. And let's not forget manipulation tactics. Some people are experts at gaining trust quickly. Ever met someone who seemed too nice too fast? Maybe they showered you with compliments, gifts, or deep emotional conversations early on. That's called love bombing. It's a strategy manipulators use to fast-track trust before you notice their real nature. They create an intense emotional connection so that when the red flags start appearing, you ignore them because you're already attached. It's a calculated move, and it's incredibly effective. But our past experiences also play a huge role. If you grew up around unreliable people, your brain might have learned to normalize toxic behavior. This means you might not even recognize red flags because they feel familiar. If you've been betrayed before, you might unconsciously seek out similar dynamics because they feel comfortable, even if they're harmful. And if you crave validation, you may be drawn to people who offer quick affection and approval, even if they don't truly care. Studies show that childhood experiences directly shape how we trust as adults. If your caregivers were inconsistent, you might develop an anxious attachment style, making you more likely to trust the wrong people in search of security. So how do we stop trusting the wrong people? First, slow down the process. Real trust takes time. If someone tries to gain your trust too fast, that's a red flag. No healthy relationship, whether it's a friendship, romance, or business partnership, needs to be rushed. Trust should develop naturally. Second, watch actions, not words. People can say anything, but their consistent actions tell you who they really are. If someone promises to always be there but disappears when you need them, that's a sign. Third, test small first. Before fully trusting someone, see how they handle small situations. If they lie, gossip, or show selfishness in little things, they'll likely do worse in bigger situations. Fourth, listen to your gut. If something feels off, don't ignore it. Your subconscious picks up on patterns faster than your conscious mind. That uneasy feeling you get? It's there for a reason. And lastly, set boundaries. If someone pushes against your boundaries or makes you feel guilty for having them, that's a warning sign. The right people will respect your limits, while the wrong ones will try to break them. Trust is a beautiful thing. It allows us to form deep connections, grow, and feel safe in the world. But blind trust leads to pain. The key is to trust wisely, without becoming overly cynical. So next time you meet someone new, take a step back. Observe, test, reflect. The right people will prove themselves over time. And the wrong ones? Well, they'll reveal themselves too, if you're paying attention. So what do you think? Have you ever trusted the wrong person? Share your experiences in the comments, and let's discuss. I'm RJ, and I'll catch you in the next one.